it's time to move to our first panel discussion for the day, ladies and gentlemen. It's an interesting one. Our first panel discussion is on the topic, decoding the speeding trends of D2C. As we all know that increasing internet penetration has increased the visibility of D2C brands like never before. But it has also led to cluttered and competitive ecosystems. Today, our panelists will try to make us understand the role of e-commerce in the D2C world and the importance of celebrity engagement in the D2C arena. And they will also try to find out the answer to the primary question, what do the investors want? Now, to decode this panel, decoding the speeding trends of D2C, before all of us, I would like to request and invite our session chair to join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yash Jain, founder and CEO for Nimbus Point, with a thunderous round of applause. Our session chair for the very first panel. Welcome you, Yash. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelists for this very first panel. We have founder XXYX Apparels, Yogesh Kabra, as our first member. Yes, we do have the steps right in the front of the stage, so please, let's make the way shorter. Let's get to the stage. Let's get this conversation going on. Please put your hands together and welcome Kabir Siddiqui, founder and CEO for Sleepy Cat. Vineet Garg, founder and CEO, Milo. Joining us next on this panel is Pallavi Burman, CMO for HRX. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the morning, our first panel. Let's get the energy flowing in the room and welcome Abhishek Ramanathan, COO for NUA. Please welcome Abhik Santara, Director and CEO for Atom Network. And Vinod Ramakannan, Founder and CEO for Spinta Digital. Our first panel here on stage, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists. I would also like to invite Pallavi Burman, CMO for HRX again, to join us on stage, ladies and gentlemen. A big round of applause for all our esteemed panelists, our session chair. The panel seems to be set. This panel is all about innovation in the D2C space and uncovering milestones, and they are here to talk about their journeys and, of course, what we can learn from the practices that they apply to their businesses. And now I would request our session chair, Yash Jain, to kindly open the dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, let's again have a round of applause going on. Let's see the energy of this room. Yes, we can do better. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the session. So, everybody knows, everybody is together here to understand what is the D2C and how it's going, and the wave of D2C in India is pretty awesome, the way it's growing now. So in this session, we'll cover more about, we have the best D2C founders in India, you could say, almost, and we'll start interaction on how D2C's brands or how D2C brands are setting up, establishing, and taking over the e-commerce wave in India. So we'll start with the first question first. The first topic will be the role of D2C brand in e-commerce space in India. So we can start with Yogesh first.
Sorry, what was the question? The role
of? The role of D2C brand in e-commerce landscape.
No, I mean, look, let me decode D2C a little bit, because for us at least, more than a commerce platform, I think D2C is a very good way of building the brand narrative. Commerce is also part of it, which is how D2C marries e-commerce. But, I mean, look, if you look at all our screen times, they've been going up. So where the consumer is spending more time is on their screen, in the digital ecosystem. And therefore, brands as core of what they do is to stay relevant to the consumer. And if everyone's spending time digitally, the brand building will also happen digitally. So I mean, as part of building a brand, D2C or the digital ecosystem is where we get the conversation going with the consumer.
Great. Kabir, what would you like to contribute on scene?
Um, I'll add on to the commerce bit of it. I think it's why D2C specifically is important for our own channel and our own websites. And people sometimes confuse them by being on marketplaces is D2C as well. But the role of data, where you learn so much directly from your consumers, is invaluable. And it's necessary that you understand that D2C means your own platform and your own website. And obviously, there are a lot of tools now to get you online faster, but specifically, it is required. Obviously, awareness takes place on marketplaces, but it shouldn't be discounted how important D2C itself, the meaning of it means your own channel for you to learn, optimize, gather data on that front. Yeah.
So we have Vineet with us. Vineet leads a lot of you must know a good parenting brand and a kids brand. So what are your thoughts about D2C and how it's taking over the e-commerce ecosystem in India? And how do you see the space as the future of e-commerce in India? Is it more marketplace or is it more D2C? Or how do you see the entire distribution out of it?
Yeah, I think we have to differentiate between talking about channels versus building the brand. One of the things that e-commerce specifically helps is the limitation in the physical world is shelf space. So when you're talking of retailers, they're actually optimizing on which product moves fastest on my shelf space. And e-commerce, that limitation is gone. So you have, insane number of shelf space you can search and everybody can show up in a BDB product detail page. So with that limitation gone, there's a lot of opportunities that emerge in building initial niches in e-commerce world. So you can pick onto those niches and get your head start. I think that's the role that e-commerce plays in trying to build a DTC world. And therefore, it's absolutely all right for you to pick up a niche and to start on an e-commerce platform. And later on, when you're building the brand, the role that a DTC channel, which like digitally owned channel by yourself, rather call it a DOC channel, that place is that you get access to a lot of consumer data, which a marketplace doesn't go. I think both go hand in hand, and in order to scale, you will have to be present almost everywhere and then go for your brand campaigns. But the e-commerce can give you a head start because people are searching online. There are a lot of niches. You eliminate the physical limitations of a store. You eliminate the physical limitations of proximity. Those two things go away, and hence you can get a good head start.
Thank you, Vineet. That was pretty insightful. What are your thoughts about same, Abhishek? If you'd like to put up some thoughts on same.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Kabir and Vineet mentioned. I mean, for us at Nua, it's e-commerce is synonymous with D2C because really it is about building direct engagement with our customers, right? At the end of the day, I think the other channels essentially help you get awareness, but really it's about making sure that you're able to build a direct engagement with the customers. And I think part of it is also how do you build not just the commerce element, but the whole community and content element, because especially in a category like ours, where you need to be able to, we're in the femcare and, women's wellness category. So it's very important that you're looking at things holistically when you're solving for it, which is why a D2C, in the purest sense, really your own platform makes a big difference because you're able to provide the entire experience in a holistic manner.
Sure, thank you. How about so you can share insight more about, because the HRX as a brand is more into marketplace and it's more marketplace focused. So how do you see the D2C versus marketplace, and what are the trends you see across both the channels?
So Yash, I'll take a little bit of an academic approach because I work on HRX, which you rightfully said is a marketplace brand, and it's not quintessentially a direct-to-consumer brand. But from my personal experience, I've seen that industries grow. Like every decade, there is an industry that booms. For example, when I was in college, it was technology. It boomed. It led way to data, telecommunications. Next decade, that boomed. That made way for e-commerce. Finally, last decade, e-com boomed. There was something that was happening. A lot of processes were getting ironed out, right? We were focusing a lot on logistics, quicker checkout, customer happiness quotient, huge discounting. There was this bloodbath war happening in terms of pricing everywhere. But in this entire process where we were trying to iron out a consumer's experience while buying online, while shifting his usual habit of buying offline to online, I think consumer centricity is something that was missing, which is trying to strike a chord with the consumer, trying to understand what the consumer really wants, And also at some level, I personally feel, in my opinion, the product quality was being ignored. But with the advent of D2C, like I said, very, very academically, the way we understand, because now we know the consumers better, well, without giving them name and face, there's data for us. When you get those data sliced and diced, you get cohorts. You can exactly deep dive and understand. For example, for Nua, like Vineet was saying, Abhishek was saying, you understand the woman, you understand the need. Along with it, you apply a layer of innovation saying, okay, I'm going to provide compostable, eco-friendly solutions that the new age woman wants. There is no reason why the new age woman won't buy into that product, because suddenly you are engaging and interacting with the consumer who is responding to what you are offering, right? Earlier in e-commerce, that wasn't happening. So for HRX, although it's a marketplace brand, we have used other channels to sort of connect with the consumer to understand this whole cohort understanding. We're driving it like a D2C while it continues to be a marketplace brand. Product quality is something that we are monitoring very closely. Customization is something that we can't offer. But in a nutshell, I think the way e-com and D2C kind of go hand in hand is pretty much the relationship of one feeding into the other, and D2C providing a very narrow, rather than the funnel of the mouth of the funnel kind of an approach, it provides a very, very narrowed down approach with a huge thought of consumer centricity at heart.
Thanks, Pallavi. Vinod and Abhik, if you would like to share your thoughts quickly, then we can move to the next question.
Sure. So I believe like it depends on the brand. I think for certain brands, it's important to be on marketplaces because the kind of checkout process they give and the kind of ease of use of those platforms, the comfort level that the customer has on those platforms are definitely an important thing. But there again, as people were mentioning, the importance of knowing your customer, importance of understanding what your customer requires, or kind of nurturing these customers. It helps you to identify each customer on their own and kind of create customer journeys in a way that you can increase their lifetime value, and how do you make them buy it again and again and again. So both of them have their own advantages. I think it typically depends on whether your brand is more where people would buy it very often, or is it something that people, if you take a speaker for example, that's not something people are going to buy on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. So I think it depends on the brand. It's you need to choose which place you need to go, because both of them have their own advantages.
Thank you, Vinod. Abhik, quick inputs.
So I'm not running a D2C brand, but I help D2C brand spend money on advertising. But I think what is interesting to know is that with e-commerce hugely coming into play, we sort of course correct every day, every moment of what input, what content is going to market the brand, which was earlier not possible. And that makes it, it's a very challenging task for us because we have to be on our feet every moment because the data is available real time to be seen which consumers are buying it, which are the cohorts where the product is doing well. And it helps us to really manage the brand in a far more intricately, in a detailed manner, and try to make it, avoid wastages. And all that, I think, is only possible because of this entire data which is available, first-party data which is available with e-commerce solutions for all D2C brands.
Thanks, Abhik. That was quite informative.
But I want to build on that. So there were certain categories which just lost significance of being direct to consumer. For example, food. With QCOM coming in, no one's going to wait for the chocolate bar to come in 3 days or 2 days. So I think I think D2C is extremely important, and brands don't have an option, D2C or e-com. It depends on what stage of your journey you're at. In the early stage, when there's limited product market fit, or you're still validating whether product chal raha hai ki nahi chal raha hai, I think D2C is amazing because it gives you insights. Once product market fit is clearly established, then you sort of go into channels that have more consumer, because everything said and done, it's very expensive to run D2C. To really use data, which is sort of being collected it's not easy. So early stage D2C, I think, is a very important channel for categories like Kabir's, which sell 5,000 rupee mattress. D2C is again extremely efficient because the unit economics work. For example, I sell underwear, which is 250 rupees. D2C might not make sense because it's very expensive. I think category cut is what we have to put. I think the use case, what is the how does the category operate is again something. If you're ready to wait, D2C would work. If you're consuming, I mean, like a chocolate which you want in another 15 minutes, D2C might not make sense. But everything sort of, everything said and done, early product market fit, there's no other channel that works better than D2C. We don't really have an option.
Thanks, Yogesh. That's interesting. We'll come to the supply chain. The supply chain is one of the major factors with D2C. We'll come to the supply chain in later stage, how to have a best supply chain solution for D2C brands. That's one of the key factor which makes your brand success or fail. The next part will start with us like, there are a couple of brands with us basically who have seen celebrity endorsements or like big celebrities endorsing their brand and promoting their brand. How do you see the impact of celebrities getting into D2C brand? What are the benefits? Do you see in terms of improvement in ROS? Or what are the benefits you see in terms of celebrity endorsements? And we can start with, I believe, Pallavi would be the best person to start with.
Because I run a celebrity-led brand, yes. So HRX is quintessentially not an endorsement. Let me just start by saying that because Hrithik Roshan is partners in the brand. I mean, he's invested in the brand. He's a majority stakeholder. But having said that, let's delve upon the reason that why should we need celebrity endorsement for D2C businesses and how does it really end us helping the larger scheme of things. Imagine in a D2C sort of a setup, you are generating your own traffic because you're not leaning on marketplaces, right? How do you generate that traffic? Either you spend lots of money for discovery and then you kind of enhance that by putting in a lot of money for performance marketing. The moment you get a celebrity on board, it kind of provides a springboard wherein you immediately start seeing certain efficiencies in your metrics, which means your click-through rates improve. Your traffic is coming and getting converted faster. I mean, somebody gets more curious when they see a celebrity image. Incidentally, as a country, we still work on ABCD, which is astrology, Bollywood, cricket. I don't remember what D is though, but any which way. So it just happens that the click-through rates go up, the conversions improve, thereby giving us certain efficiencies in the metrics when we are spending money and seeing better ROI therefore. Hence, for D2C business, the investment of celebrity is kind of becoming an acceptable norm and a very, very acceptable vehicle for, like I said, springboarding. The reason why D2C also needs influencer push or a celebrity phase is because of my increasing belief that the seas of businesses are changing now with D2C. It is usually thriving on content today. Content leads to community, and community therefore leads to commerce. I mean, it is a very, very valid chain which has gotten established across most of the D2C businesses that we have worked with very closely. Rather than any influencer kind of peddling out multiple brands on their pages to the consumers, having somebody from within your community advocate or kind of profess it to you makes the likelihood of buying higher. So meaningful content, more native content, content leading to the community, which is usually driven by celebrity slash influencer slash key opinion leaders today. And hence I feel the celebrity endorsement becomes paramount. Endorsement not in the classical way, where you buy celebrities time over the counter and just make a brand film. Today you have to find out newer ways of marketing. You have to figure out how to connect the dots. How do you get into that celebrity's life, or how do you infuse that celebrity into the business so that they also attend your board meetings or they sit on the cap table when you're going out to the VCs and PEs for raising the fund. So all of this creates that entire gamut or range that a celebrity brings along board when infused in a D2C kind of a setup. And I think as HRX, we have enjoyed all these advantages and reached a stage where we're now crossing a 800 crore mark by being a marketplace brand and not a pure play D2C. I hope that kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, that was interesting insight. Abhik, you are behind me to speak about celebrities, so on you.
No, I think the question is not about whether celebrity is required for D2C brands or not. I think we have been facing these questions like forever, that why do brands really need celebrity endorsement? Of course, it makes a lot more relevance for D2C brands, but if you look at the classical, advantages of using a celebrity on a brand are primarily the marketing fundamentals, basically. It gives you easier cut through, it gives you instant awareness, and it gives you a certain amount of stature to the brand. The same principles do apply to D2C as well, with a lot more added benefits. One of the important tasks of D2C brands is to get the initial customer base right. And I think getting a relevant, identifiable, and aspirational face to the brand helps to get that initial traction going for the brands. So that gives you the consumer base. Secondly, earlier days, celebrities were used mostly for brands which have a mass appeal, because you are going to be spreading on TV and stuff like that. In today's case, D2C brands, a lot of D2C brands are very targeting to a lot of niche segments. And therefore, it becomes even more better from an ROI point of view to go with, specific kind of a celebrities who drive relevance, who drives, meaning to the particular consumer segments that you're talking to, and therefore gets better visibility, better authenticity, and better trust values for the brand. So not only from a classical marketing point of view, but also from a D2C brand building point of view, I think celebrities do make it a very important part of the mix. One has to be a little careful about the sustainability of it. While initial push brands do get to get a known face on the brand, how to use that on a sustained manner? Are there really lot of compounded benefit as you go along to third year, fourth year of the brand using the same face? That is something which one has to be really cautious about.
Thanks, Abhik. It was helpful. To make it more interesting, I would like to hear from Abhishek. And Abhishek, if you could see, celebrities are not cheap. It's fancy but not cheap. So if you could share the experience, what is the actual, after getting celebrity into your brand, do you see any traction? What are the differences you see? How's the ROI for a small brand to look into? And how people should basically think that build that budget line, let's say, these are the budgets you need. Because investing in celebrity is not just one. The real investment comes after onboarding a celebrity. If you have done a campaign with some good celebrity and not promoted it well, so there's no ROI that you make out. So on this point, maybe Yogesh can add pointers. We'll start with Abhishek first.
Sure, good question. So we work with Deepika, and I think for us the relationship has been fairly organic, because she started off as an investor, and then of course she also endorses our brand. So in a way, there's also skin in the game because she's also an investor, right? But I think the question, to your question, there are two things that we look at, right? Two key points for us. One is the objective, like what are you trying to get out of celebrity engagement or endorsement? What do you really want to do as a brand? And the second thing is about timing, right? On the first one, it's really about, I think, Pallavi touched upon this earlier, but whether it's about your brand or performance marketing, if you're going to use a celebrity for performance marketing, then it's really no point. You can work with other influencers who can do it. What you want to be able to do is, can you really build the top of the funnel? Can you get people who've never heard of your brand, especially if you're small? How do you get the word of the brand out there? That's really what it is, right? And I think then, and from a measurement perspective, then you have to look at ROI from that perspective. So that's really how we look at it. The second point is really about timing. As a brand, you've got to be really clear on what stage you want to get a celebrity in, because you need to be able to invest capital, not just on the celebrity, but also in terms of running a campaign for a period of time, because it has to be a sustained campaign, because top of the funnel just doesn't build just like that, right? It takes time. Speaking to, I'm sure Abhik and Vinod will be able to add more, but things like the frequency of the reach and frequency, all of those sort of things matter a lot when you get a big celebrity on board. So those are the two things we look at. So it's very important that timing is really critical. So you want to be at a stage of growth where you can actually invest capital behind the celebrity as well. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thanks Abhishek. So next, Yogesh, you would like to contribute?
No, so look, pehle लोग celebrity later in their journey introduce करते थे because it had to be done from the money they make. D2C brands are raising capital and burning capital, including us. Therefore, अब earlier stage पे the economics work because as venture-backed brands, we are trying to do what legacy brands have done 15 साल में, we are trying to do that in 5 years or 6 years. And that's why we burn cash. It's not because of the unit economics. वो सबके solid है. People putting money are not stupid. Now, what do we if you have the money and if you want to get awareness really quickly, celebrity would work. Obviously, it has to be relevant and brand fundamentals have to align. Brand fundamental align हो रहा है, पैसा है. What therefore a celebrity endorsement, like the word endorsement, does, it endorses for trust. When you see a KL Rahul versus a model, psychologically there is trust around the brand, around the product quality. That's what endorsements or a celebrity face ends up doing, which then impacts in metrics. For example, conversion rate better hai, because trust build ho gaya hai, or a proxy to trust is developed. So that's celebrity sort of face solves for, but like most of us agree here that you need to have the money to get you should not be in a rush. Business comes first. And second, it has to be distributed well. General rule of thumb is, agar the campaign cost creative celebrity is about 1 crore, you should spend about 5 crores in distributing the content, because awareness banegi tab when people are actually seeing it. There's no point showing shooting a very nice video and only 1 million people are looking at it. Economics won't set. So 5x is the general rule of thumb.
That's interesting number, Yogesh. Vineet, would like to add? Vineet and Kabir?
So, very quickly, as a brand, we have very limited experience with celebrities versus the panel here. So, but the way we think about it, or at least a little bit first principles around this is that celebrities has always been used by bigger brands for endorsement. So, in a way, as a brand, you're trying to build mental salience, which is like, when users think about the category, they think about your brand. So celebrities can get you in that sense. Where it differs, I'm trying to address the question, celebrity for DTC, where it differs for DTC brands, in my opinion, is that as DTC you can go very narrow. You can pick a local celebrity in a state and then run your campaigns in that state with that celebrity and then test your thing out. Whereas traditional brands will go all out big, and the reason they do that is, it's not that they don't understand, is that they have their physical salience solved, which is that if you think about my brand, can I buy you at situations? As DTC, you don't have that solved. So therefore, as a celebrity endorsement, and the other point, second point I would want to add into this is that there is this lot of thinking around having a bigger celebrity means a good thing. I think you want the users to think about your brand when they see that ad or that video. If you are picking up a celebrity who is associated with 20 other things, do the user really think about your brand, or they think about the other things associated with that celebrity? So the choice that you make around which celebrity to get and get started with is very critical. It is not necessarily the bigger celebrity will always get your brand. It is very possible that you may be burning your dollars, and the user, when thinks about a particular celebrity, they're thinking about a different brand. So you end up helping somebody else and not yourself.
Thanks, Vineet. So this was interesting. One of the points Vineet mentioned, right, is you need to understand your TG right. It's not about picking any celebrity or any XYZ celebrity which maps your brand and goes for promotion. It's very important to understand your TG, who are your customer base, who's your audience, who's somebody who buys from you, who's your target audience, and then choose the right person who connects to your audience, basically.
I'll just quickly add to that. What Yogesh mentioned earlier, I think distribution is becoming very important at the moment, because it's a norm that a lot of D2C brands are getting celebrities, and before getting a celebrity used to be a pull factor. That, okay, I have a celebrity, this much trust is created, and I can see an growth that takes place on that front. But what's happening now is that it's because so many brands have it, it's becoming slightly bit of a push factor. That, hey, please see, my brand has a celebrity, increasing trust levels. So when the push factor comes into play, the most important aspect is distribution. How do I distribute the videos or anything I've created in the form of content so that I get maximize my views, and what we call is CPM is what we measure it by, which is per 1,000 views, how much money do you spend? Distribution is the most important aspect, and that's what you need to actually plan for, think about now when getting a celebrity on board. It's one of the most important factors.
Thanks, Kabir. It was interesting. So one of the factors, like celebrities are not just for ROAS or conversion, basically. A lot of brands, hearing everybody, what I could grab is, it's more about, while ROAS and conversions are one of the factors, one of the major factors is branding. The brand you have, once you get a celebrity, you can increase your reach, you can increase your, you could say, bandwidth, your audience, the potential whom you could reach. Now to get a celebrity, the next important factor is, how do you get the funding? And we're going to speak about the funding in D2C. That's going to be one of the interesting point or factor everybody would like to hear. How's the market? And we would like to understand, like, the funding journey of your brands. How do you, when you went to the fundraise, what are the metrics that you found investors are looking for that time? And what are the metrics? Is there any changes? Do you see any, while there is a bit slowdown in the market, do you see any impact in D2C funding? And we're going to talk more about how early stage D2C, which could be viewing us or setting an audience, can be benefited out of the fundraise, basically. How they can pitch, what are the metrics to focus on, what are the key metrics for fundraise to be onto, and what are the investors looking for? So who would like to take first? Yogesh, we can start.
Sure. So, classic promoter, I mean, founder quality, number one thing that investors look at, high growth. I think however you want to beautify the pig, one key metric in raising capital is high growth. Growth nahi hai, it's going to be extremely challenging. And when I say growth, I don't mean year-on-year growth. I don't mean 50% year-on-year growth. Has to be 200, 300% year-on-year growth. A key part. And then unit economics or gross margins. Whether at scale the business will throw out money or not. Again, something that early stage investors would really look at. But it starts with the founder, probably, and then how large is the category. So that whether it's really a investable category, so that everyone will make money. Gross margin, high gross margin, and some demonstration of product market fit.
And so Yogesh, you've spoken about growth and high growth in numbers. There are a lot of startups who run bootstrap, which are not funded basically before the fundraise. What's your suggestion? While they are bootstrap, they are scaling, how do they maintain the bottom line? How do they focus on bottom line as well as top line, both the metrics while scaling? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a very company to company, founder to founder, category to category question. Some people want to own 100% of what they are building and they bootstrap. Some people think that your category is so competitive that I need more money. Like even if I want to bootstrap, it's not going to work. And therefore, I mean, people raise capital. But depending on what the strategy of the company is, which is high growth, then you need more capital. Simple cheezon mein, if you want to sort of grow 15% month on month in apparel, you'll need 120 days of inventory. वो inventory कहाँ से लेके आएंगे? I mean, you need capital, and therefore, if you're on a high growth model, you need fund. You need some comfort around capital. If you're bootstrapped, then I mean, you're growing well, which some breakout brands have. It'll just take longer. So you'll have to be patient. I don't think that raising capital it's for sure gets you on a panel like this. But a lot of real stories are being written with people not raising capital, and instead of doing it in 5 years, are doing it in 12 years. मतलब in our lifetime, how does it even matter कि 5 साल की जगह अगर 10 साल में we are able to get a great outcome? So personal choice category requirement is again something that this should be based on, not based on media coverage, for sure.
Thanks, Yogesh. That was insightful. And Kabir, what would you like to contribute?
I think Yogesh has possibly covered most of it. The only thing I would like to add is that different stages, investors look for different things in companies. You know, in the early stage, it's pure founder driven. His vision, do I trust his background, his understanding of the business, his ability to build the team, it's purely based on that. In a second stage, it's based on understanding, okay, what is the growth path for it? What is the market size of this outcome that can take place? And a later stage, it goes deeply into unit economics to understand, okay, are you moving towards profitability? Are you moving towards better growth, more capturing of the market? Even if it is, let's say, you slow down from, let's say, 200% growth to like a 60, 70% growth. But at that later stage, that's what they look for, unit economics on that front. So different stages, investors look for different things. We've gone through all those different stages as well. So that's why I'm able to comment on this. But that's about it.
Thanks, Kabir. Vineet, if you'd like to share a brief story about how you fundraised for, that could be something catchy for a early stage startup. How did you make your first round hit, and what were the challenges you faced that time? And what are the, how do you see the market scenario as of now, comparing your fundraise time? If you could share a brief scenario would be grateful.
Sure. So we did our, the first round we did at Milo. At Milo, we are a combination of a tech product platform, and now we are building our D2C brands and layering it up with healthcare services also. So we are full stack play for young parents. So we have a combination of technology and D2C as well as services marketplace on our platform. Early funding, I mean, we started as more of a community tech product platform. So we actually don't have D2C first investors on our, with us so far. We started as a tech product platform, and we onboarded investors who were keen on and want to help us building our community and tech product play. So that was where our journey was. So narrowing down my answers to more D2C audience here, I think one thing is that there is this tendency to think of entrepreneurs are all different, but investors are all same. I think investors are also very different. So different investors have different theses. You could find investors who want to play long run and are okay with slower growth and they want to build for the long run. Or you could find investors who want very, very fast growth, and that's their thesis. So there are also people doing their work, doing their job, they have their thesis. So as an entrepreneur, it's your job to first understand who's the right fit for you. You must know who you are, what kind of product you want to build, or what kind of business you want to build, and which investors are fitting into your thesis. Sometimes it's easy to get disappointed by hearing a feedback from an investor who generally is not fit for your business. So I think that differentiation is very important. Second, from a DTC point of view, my sense is that, coming from both tech and DTC world I've seen for a couple of years now, DTC is, the returns are a lot more certain. It could be a little slower versus in tech. In tech, if you get the product market fit, you are leading the category, you can scale very, very, very fast because the variable cost is nothing. Whereas in DTC, you still have to work on like supply chain, you still have to work on distribution, you still have, there's a physical angles, you cannot scale infinitely very fast. But the returns are a lot more certain. So I think the investors have different theses. Once you understand that within the DTC world, talk to those investors, then I think the panel has already covered some of the metrics they would look at: gross margins, repeat rate, your CAC, your LTV, and how are you shaping up within the category. And sometimes they will also look at if you really have some kind of a product innovation which is sustainable. You can talk of a lot of product innovations, but in these days it can be very, very quickly picked up by other competitors and matched. So is there real differentiation on the supply side that you have built is also very critical for investors in my mind.
Thanks, Vineet. That was pretty insightful. Abhishek, if you'd like to add quick pointer, very quick pointer. We're running out of time, so we'll try to push it.
Nothing more to add, really. I think they've covered it pretty well, so nothing more to add, really.
I'll take 5 minutes more, if you allow. So one of the most interesting point we were about to discuss was the supply chain. So while D2C brands are building or the D2C ecosystem is changing, there's a big shift in supply chain. I would like to hear there are a lot of quick commerce or the supply is going nearer to the customers. Any quick thoughts, Yogesh, if you can share on it?
I think it's the same. But what, as a channel, digital, and probably Pallavi would sort of give her point of view here, is you can't go out of stock. Because the algos throw you out if you go out of stock. So in traditional channels, machines were not learning and therefore they were not throwing you out. एक महीना out of stock है चल जाता है. In the digital world, if you're running out of stock, I mean, it comes at a much higher cost, and therefore the need to have a more robust supply chain is even higher, because you're not just losing opportunity of sale, but also losing marketing dollars that you've put historically.
Thanks, Yogesh.
So,
That was
Yash, if I
insightful.
may quickly add, with the advent of D2C and e-commerce businesses, we also need to be aware of the kind of categories that we are bringing to the consumer's doorstep, right? I mean, we're literally bringing a toothbrush, ketchup, and even underwear. Like Yogesh and I remember talking about this once, that these are emergency purchases. These are not always planned purchases. And when you order some of these things, you literally want them now in your hands. And therefore, the advent of WhatsApp ordering and all of that has to come to the fore to support this kind of product, this kind of business that we are bringing to the consumer doorsteps, and literally with the promise of delivering it within a few hours.
Thanks, Pallavi.
Thank you, Pallavi, and thank you everybody on the panel for sharing your wonderful insights with all of us. I think we've had a lot to take from this conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause for everybody who's here.